Welcome back, everyone, to the Tickets Toward Success podcast. Here we dive deep into health, fitness, finance, and the mindset needed to thrive in all areas of life. And I'm your host, Tucker Nunakoven. I want to thank you either for joining me again today or being a first-time listener. Thank you for tuning in today and listening to the podcast. Today, we're going to break down one of the most powerful yet misunderstood tools for your health and for longevity, and that's going to be fasting. It's been around for a very long time. A lot of the concepts of fasting have been around, and it's been researched for a very long time as well. And if you've ever wondered how fasting works, why so many high performers swear by it, and how to do it properly, this episode is definitely for you. And we're going to jump into all of it, the science behind it, as well as how to properly do it and the different ways that you can do it as well. So what you can actually expect in this episode is the 3 most effective fasting methods and how they actually work, the science-backed benefits of fasting from fat loss to longevity, and how to avoid common fasting mistakes. And then also I'm going to share some of my personal experience with fasting, with intermittent fasting and extended fasting as well. And just as a quick reminder, if you do enjoy this episode, please share it with someone that you may know that might benefit from these insights as well, whether that be this episode on fasting, one of the episodes on finance, or any other episode on health and fitness or self-development. Let's dive into part 1 today, and that is, what is fasting and why does it even work? So the definition of fasting is actually very simple. Fasting is simply going without food for a set period of time and not eating. Like I said earlier, it's been practiced for centuries in various cultures and religions, but modern science now backs its health benefits as well. And like I said, there has been a lot of research done on it over the past couple of years. The one place that I really notice fasting being talked about, and that is in the Bible. I do read my Bible every single night, just read a scripture, and it is talked about a lot in there. Fasting for your faith was more so common in the Bible, but a lot of people use it for their health nowadays because it does have a lot of health benefits as well. And unlike dieting, fasting really focuses on when you eat, but it also focuses on what you eat to break your fast and how you should probably be doing that with healthy, nutritious foods. Because the truth is if you're fasting for your health, but you break your fast with processed foods or processed sugars or any other kind of non-nutritious food, you're wiping away those benefits that you may have gained from not eating for that extended period of time. So we need to make sure that we're taking a healthy approach to breaking our fast and that we're putting the correct foods in our body to help support that fast. Now, some of the science of fasting. So when you fast, our insulin levels actually drop. So that allows our bodies to burn stored fat more efficiently. So we're able to burn fat faster, more often, and more efficiently. There's also a really well-known concept known as autophagy, which is a process where your cells remove damaged components. So this actually improves your longevity and it can reduce disease risk, chronic disease risk, any kind of disease risk. And I actually sourced this from Nature Reviews Molecular Cell Biology. It was an article that I had found online. There's a lot of other places that talk about autophagy as well. It's the way that I see it is that when you fast, your good cells and your body actually eats the bad cells that were around there, because you're not starving yourself, but you are, and your body's looking for some source of energy to use to operate. And I don't know. That's just what goes through my brain whenever I'm fasting, that my body is actually like cleansing itself from all of the bad toxins that may be going through there, and where my body's just feeding off that to use that as energy, because that's what it's going to go for first. Our bodies are extremely smart on their own. It's going to take the bad cells and eat those up first before it goes into anything else. So that's a really, really cool concept. And another great thing about fasting is it actually increases growth hormone production, which helps preserve muscle mass, and it aids in that fat burning. So we talked about that fat burning, how fasting makes it more efficient to burn fat. And that is where that is coming from when it increases that growth hormone production. It also improves insulin sensitivity, which is very crucial for preventing diabetes or metabolic disorders. So that is just another added benefit. These have all been sourced that I threw in my script. You can go out and find numerous amounts of case studies and research on all three of these. And that is the science behind fasting, really, and the three big points that you need to know as to why fasting can help with your health and with your longevity as well. Now, there are actually 3 fasting methods. There's more than that, but there's 3 that are very effective and 3 that are very popular, and what are probably the most common that people use that incorporate fasting into their lives. The first one being intermittent fasting, which is also known as the 16-8 method. And that is actually when you fast for 16 hours and then you eat within an 8-hour window. So let's just say that your last meal was at 8 p.m. and then you would break your fast the next day at 12 p.m. and then you would have that 8-hour window to consume your meals. Like I said, this is the number one. It's probably the most popular method for beginners, and it's very simple to implement because your last meal is at 8 p.m. and then you sleep for a majority of the time. Let's say that you get up at 6 a.m. You have a 6-hour window, which really some people aren't even that hungry in the morning. You get ready, you go to work, or you're just doing some kind of work. And what I've actually found is that you can get a lot of stuff done in the mornings. You can use coffee as a hunger suppressant, and you can drink electrolytes throughout the morning so you're not getting hungry and you're not feeling like you're starving until you hit 12 p.m. And there's a lot of benefits of just the intermittent fasting as well. It can boost your metabolism, improves that insulin sensitivity, and it can actually support healthy weight loss. Now, I say healthy weight loss because I don't want anyone to take fasting as a way to lose weight and look at it and not look at it properly, because there's a difference between fasting for your health versus starving yourself to lose weight. And you need to know the difference between both of those, because having that bad relationship with food and starving yourself to lose weight is never the correct way to go about losing weight. Now, while fasting does help support weight loss, it's not necessarily for weight loss. Now, the second method that you could do would be a 1 meal a day method, 23 hours of fasting, and then you have a 1-hour eating window. This obviously is a lot harder, and it's hard to eat enough food to fuel your body in 1 hour, especially if you're someone that is big into fitness, big into endurance. It can be difficult to fuel for that performance. Now, this obviously works for some people, and that's all that they need. But I've never done this, but I know it's a very popular way. And I would say that it's probably ideal for people who enjoy eating larger meals and they kind of just want mental clarity throughout the day, because sometimes food can cause us, especially unhealthy food, it can cause us a lot of brain fog, and it can cause us to get tired throughout the day. And that's why a lot of people incorporate fasting in the mornings so they can have a productive morning. Now, this 1 meal a day method obviously would help with a rapid fat loss, but it's very challenging to sustain this. And I even debated about putting that as a bullet point for this method, because that kind of goes against what I just said with using it as a way to improve your health instead of lose weight. So I wouldn't really use this method as a way to support healthy weight loss, but it would obviously create rapid fat loss as well. Now, the third effective way is extended fasting. I have experience with this, and this is what I do mostly now. That's when you're fasting for about a 2 to 3 day period. It enhances autophagy and also deep cellular repair. So these extended fasting periods is where you're going to see the most benefits from that autophagy and that deep cellular repair, and your body really resetting and recovering and rebuilding itself. And it also will help reset metabolism, and it'll boost your immune function as well. And that can all be found in numerous articles throughout the internet. I found this on Cell Reports. Through my experience, I used to do intermittent fasting, like I said. I used to do it daily, and I actually very much enjoyed it. I thought that I got so much stuff done in the mornings. I was very, very productive, especially at work. I would drink electrolytes and I would drink black coffee just to use that as a hunger suppressant. And if I could, I would still do that method. But right now, I'm trying to dial in my protein intake, make sure I'm eating enough carbs to fuel for my performance, for endurance, and for weight training, and still staying in a caloric deficit as well. So I have to have a meal in the morning to make sure I'm hitting that protein, because I don't get a lot of time from when I'm at work to the end of the day, when I get off work, and then I have a small period, especially if I'm going to the gym. I'm not someone that can eat a huge meal it's not what I like. And I've also dealt with some health issues in the past where it's just not wise for me to eat a larger meal. Now, like I said, I do the extended fasting right now, that 48 to 72 hours, 2 to 3 days. I do that, or try to do it, about 2 to 3 times per year. Use this to really reset my body and reset my mind. My most recent one was before I went into my marathon prep. So right before March, I did a 3-day fast, and I did that to kind of reset my body and just get it ready for the amount of food that I was going to have to be eating during this marathon prep, the amount of supplements that I was taking, and the amount of stress and strain that was about to be put on my body. So that's when I really like to do that. I will say that I did make a pretty big mistake from doing a 2 to 3 day fast. I actually ran a half marathon, and I decided to do a 3-day fast after I ran the half marathon. So I ran the half marathon on a Saturday, and then I was going to fast Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Do not do that, because your body needs to recover and refuel over those next few days, especially after a big endurance event. So obviously, I ended up going a day and a half. And on that second day, I actually got the shakes really bad, and I felt like I was going to pass out. My body was just craving energy, and I ended up having to break that fast early and eat. Now, the second time I did it, right before the marathon prep, it went much, much better. And while it still sucked, on day 2, I was able to break through that, and I ended up being just fine. I was consuming about 2 black coffees per day during that 3-day period. And then I was having about 3 servings of electrolytes, as well as reverse osmosis water with some salt in there to keep up my hydration and make sure I was staying hydrated. Okay, so let's jump into a few common mistakes that I've heard of and how to kind of avoid them. Obviously, you just heard about my personal mistake that I've made with fasting in the past, but these are four mistakes that are very common to first time people that are getting into fasting. The first one is going to be not eating enough nutrients when breaking a fast. I would definitely argue that breaking your fast is actually more important than fasting itself, because you can wipe away, like I said earlier, all the benefits that you had gained from fasting by breaking it improperly. So avoid breaking your fast with processed foods, and just avoid those in general if you can. And avoid breaking it with heavy doses of carbohydrates. I would always recommend to break your fast with a form of bone broth, lean proteins, and healthy fats. And the way that I actually break my fast is I will space these out 30 minutes apart. So I will do a big cup of bone broth, of Kettle and Fire beef bone broth. I'll do a big cup of that. And then 30 minutes later, I will do some pickles and sauerkraut to get some good probiotics in my gut. And then 30 minutes after that, I will do a large bowl of kefir with blackberries, blueberries, a banana, raw honey, and some coconut flakes. I'll put that in there and I'll eat that bowl of kefir, and that'll just give me some more probiotics. And then after 30 minutes after that, I will do 16 or a pound of grass fed ground beef, 93.7 lean, with maybe some raw Parmesan or Reggiano cheese on there and an avocado if I can. And that is how I break all of my fasts. And I would do that. I would do that for intermittent fasting sometimes, but not really. To be honest, I would kind of just have the ground beef. But I do this for the extended periods because that's really where I want to see the most benefit with the autophagy and the deep cellular repair as well. So that's how I break mine. Now, the second common mistake that I've heard of is overcompensating with binge eating. So a lot of people will be really hungry right after you're fasting, and they will just overeat in their eating window. So if you even if you're doing the the 16-8, or if you're doing the 23-hour fast, the 1 day a meal, you're overeating in that window, and there can be some negative benefits to doing that. So just make sure that you're trying to stick to whole, nutrient dense foods. Now, the third common mistake would be not drinking enough water. Water is extremely important, whether you're fasting or not, but fasting will really deplete your electrolyte storage, and it can lead to a lot of fatigue, and it can lead to a lot of headaches. During my 72-hour fast, I was taking 3 servings of electrolytes per day, and I still felt some fatigue, and I got a little bit of a headache. I think on the second day, towards the end of the day. And so I could have even still been a little bit dehydrated. But even after, having 3 servings of electrolytes per day, there were times when my urine, when I go to the restroom, was still darker in color and not light. Even though I knew that I was still very hydrated, because I would have a serving of electrolytes and then I would still be drinking my water throughout the day. And that even had some salt in it as well, just to get some added electrolytes in there. So it really, really does deplete your electrolyte stores. So you have to make sure that you're having electrolytes in your system always, not just during fasting too. Always have electrolytes, but especially during fasting. And a really good solution, like I said, just add some salt to your water. You can get Celtic sea salt, you can get Baja Gold salt, or you can get a really good electrolyte supplement. I use Relight Hydration. You can do LMNT, which is another good one that I've heard of. You can do Santa Cruz Paleo. I've heard that's good as well. Just get yourself a really good electrolyte supplement to use before you do fasting. The fourth mistake that I've heard of and that I've seen is fasting too aggressively too soon. If you've never fasted before, you can't jump into a 72-hour fast. I'm sure that there's some people out there that could complete it, but I wouldn't recommend it. It is not something to mess around with. It's a lot more difficult than people think, and you can really start to almost hallucinate while you're fasting. Because sometimes things don't even seem real. It's a very weird feeling. You won't know exactly what I'm talking about until you do experience it. So the best thing that I could recommend would be to actually start with a 12-hour or a 16-hour fast, and then you can build from there. All right, so I bet some of you, and maybe all of you actually, are wondering, no, I don't know if I should fast. You made some good points, Tucker, but I don't really know if I should. And I also have another question. Who shouldn't be fasting? So who benefits the most from fasting? That's always a question that I seem to see. I've never been asked it, but I seem to see it a lot. And I would say that those that are looking to lose some body fat, again, this is not a way to lose weight. But if you're looking to get a little bit leaner, lose a little bit body fat, and show off some muscles a little bit more, it can be beneficial. And the reason why is because, like I said a little bit ago, that fasting helps you burn fat more efficiently. So what that does is that it burns that fat instead of burning any muscle. So if you're looking to lose fat while maintaining your muscle mass, it can be very beneficial. So this would target the people that work out regularly and they have some muscle mass on them and they just want to lose some body fat and they want to get a little bit leaner, maybe before the summer, or maybe they're going on a trip and they just want to get down to a little bit less body fat percentage. That would be someone who would benefit from certain fasting methods. Now, I want to reiterate that you must be eating the right amount of protein each day to maintain muscle mass while you're fasting. So, if you're doing the 16-8 method and you're only eating 2 meals a day, those have to be pretty high in protein to hit your 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight every single day of protein. So you have to make sure that you're still eating enough protein. Obviously, if you are doing a 72-hour fast, you're not eating for 3 days, but you need to make sure that you ate enough protein leading up to that fast and also after that fast to maintain muscle. I would say another person that could benefit from fasting would be people with insulin resistance or metabolic syndrome. Obviously, fasting has great benefits for both of those. Anyone that may be seeking like cognitive clarity or focus, or maybe you find yourself after eating breakfast in the morning and going to work that you're being a little bit lazy and you're having some brain fog. I know that I personally experience this at my work. Now that I am eating breakfast, I will eat around 7 a.m. or 7:30, and then I'll go to work at 8:30, and I can tell by 9 that I'm feeling a little bit sluggish. Now, I do eat, a very whole food, nutritious, animal-based breakfast, but it's still just having that food in your system that sometimes can make you feel that way. So if you're looking for some mental clarity and some focus in your mornings, or maybe just for 3 days straight, maybe you really have to get some stuff done, you will find that and you'll be able to grind through a lot of those tasks. Now, who should really avoid fasting? And These are two big ones, but these are really the only exceptions. I think these are the only people that should avoid it. And the first one being individuals with a history of eating disorders, because, like I said, it can cause some bad relationships with food. And you can go, especially if you've had an eating disorder, you could go into this with the wrong mindset of using it improperly and using it for things that you shouldn't be using it for, and not using it for your health, but using it as a way to cover up your eating disorder. Or on the flip side, and that's like if someone is starving themselves, or on the flip side, if you are using it to eat a lot during your eating window and you have a kind of a reverse eating disorder in that way, that can negatively impact you as well, because you're not going to have that self-control to eat healthy, nutritious foods. You're just going to eat whatever is around you. So you have to make sure that if you've had a history of eating disorders, I wouldn't recommend fasting. I would stick to what you're doing, whatever helped you get away from that eating disorder. Now, the second situation would be pregnant women, or even those with medical conditions. You should definitely always consult with a doctor if you are a pregnant woman, or maybe you have some medical conditions that you're unsure of as to if fasting could negatively impact your health. So, consult with a doctor on that. Obviously, if people have listened to some of my past episodes, I don't have the best relationship with doctors, and I don't necessarily take their advice on my health a lot, just due to some past situations and some past things that have happened in my life. But if you have a serious medical condition that's been diagnosed through medical care, then I would definitely consult with your doctor to see if fasting is right for you. So some final thoughts from today's episode. I kept it short and sweet. There's not really much to dig into fasting. I mean, there's a lot of evidence and research based out there. I probably could have went deeper into that. But sometimes I feel like people don't want to hear all about the research. They want to hear the straight, cold-hearted facts about fasting and things that they can go up and actually look up themselves, and they can see where I'm talking about and all the benefits that fasting does hold. If you want to see and hear about some scientific backed fasting information, I would definitely visit Andrew Huberman's podcast. I know that he has a couple episodes on there about fasting, where obviously, if you've ever listened to his podcast, he dives pretty deep into the data and the analytical stuff and the scientific stuff about health and fasting as well. So fasting it's a way to help heal and reset our bodies. I mean, that's what I mainly use it for. That is, what I think is most beneficial from fasting. And like I said, don't let it form that bad relationship with food, and don't primarily use it to lose weight. Make sure you're using it for the right reasons, and that is to make your body healthier, to reset your body, to gain mental clarity, to gain some focus back in your day. Just make sure that you're using it properly. Now, fasting, like we talked about in the beginning, has been used for centuries, and there's many, many, many studies out there showing its benefits. So why should we not implement it into our lives? I'm not saying that you have to fast every day in the terms of intermittent fasting, but why can't you do a 2-day fast 3 times a year? Why can't you do a 1-day fast 1 time a quarter? Why can't you do a 3-day fast twice or 3 times per year just to reset your body? It's really good for your mind as well, your mental toughness, making sure that you are, not craving into temptation and beating that urge to eat food during your fasting window. So why are we not incorporating this into our lives? It's been talked about for centuries. It's been studied for a very long time. So why are we not doing that? And I do think that it would resolve and help a lot of issues that Americans are seeing right now with their health and with their chronic diseases that are going around. Obviously, I've talked about in recent episodes that 50% of Americans do suffer from a chronic illness, and about 4 out of 10 adults actually suffer from 2 chronic illnesses. So I think incorporating fasting can actually help with some of that. There was a crazy story that I read about a year ago about this gentleman that actually had a lot of tumors in his body, and they were cancerous tumors. And he was able to completely heal himself by fasting, by doing long extended fasts, and his body was able to heal itself from this. Now, I've never seen any of the documentation that was maybe signed by a medical professional saying that this was actually the case. This was just his journey that he shared in an article, and it was also he also shared it on his personal TikTok page as well. So I found that very fascinating. And throughout the Bible, it is talked about that fasting heals, and fasting is a way to better ourselves and to heal our bodies. So that story is very crazy to me, and I wonder, and it makes me wonder, what could fasting do for more people that maybe knew about its benefits, knew or were more educated on it, and implemented it into their daily lives. And the last final thought that I want you to take with you today is to remember to, customize your fasting to your fitness goals. Obviously, I talk about fitness a lot on the podcast as well, and it's a big part of the subjects that I do have every single month. And we talk about endurance, we talk about weightlifting, we talk about cross training. You have to be able to fuel for your performance during fitness goals. And I personally don't like to train fasted. I've trained fasted in the past, and I don't like it. While it can speed up your body fat percentage loss, it can speed up that fat loss while you can still maintain muscle. Your performance gets weaker and you're not able to perform at a higher level. So you need to customize your fasting to your fitness goals. That is why I do those extended fasts instead of the intermittent fasting as well, because, I can kind of schedule that whenever I feel like I need my body to be reset. Like I did it before the marathon prep to reset my body. And then during the marathon prep, I'm not fasting at all. So just always take that into consideration when you're trying to incorporate fasting into your daily life or into your life in general. So there are a few key takeaways as well from this episode. Just remember there's 3 different kinds of fasting: the intermittent fasting, the 1 meal a day fasting, and the extended fasting, which is 48 to 72 hours. Remember how to break your fast properly. If you want to go back and listen to how I break my fast every time, that way you can really heal your gut and make sure you're getting the right nutrients into your body after you fast. Feel free to do that. Make sure protein, healthy fats. Also be sure to drink lots of water, electrolytes, Celtic sea salt, Baja Gold salt, throw that in your water. And also you can use black coffee as a hunger suppressant. That way you're not feeling starving throughout the day. Make sure to also ease into fasting. Geez. And do not try to do it for long periods of time as a beginner. Start off slow with 12 hours, then do 16, and then build your way up from there and see what works best for you, whether that be extended, intermittent, or 1 meal a day fasting. That is it for today's episode on the Tickets Towards Success podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today, and thank you for listening. This has been a great journey. This is, I believe, was episode 14, and that's just crazy to think that we're already on episode 14, almost 15. And it's super exciting. I have some great topics coming up, and I'm very excited to bring guests on. I'm starting to kind of schedule that out for the second half of the year. So there's a lot of big things coming, a lot of great conversations to be had, and a lot of information to get out to everyone that listens. Thank you guys for your support. Thank you for always coming back if you're a reoccurring listener. And thank you for sharing the podcast with others that you think that may benefit from the insights that I do share. Please remember to like and subscribe and download my podcast for continuous updates. That way you can get those notifications and you know when my next episode is out. I do drop episodes every single Monday. And at next Monday, we're going to take a detailed look at how the first 3 months of 2025 have went for me and what the outlook is for the rest of the year in my life. Now, the reason I'm doing that sort of episode is if some of you are returning listeners, I used to update everyone at the beginning of each episode what I was working on in my life. I decided that that got a little bit repetitive. So I'm going to start doing quarterly at the end of each quarter, how that quarter went, those 3 months, and then also filling everyone in on my daily life, or not my daily life, but what is in store for the remainder of the year. And then I'll also do an end of the year episode where I'll talk about the previous year, what we accomplished, some of our failures, and what I want to do better in the next coming year. So please remember, everyone, that we do have limited time, whether we like that or not. We never know when our time is up, and we can never guess, and we can never get time back. So work hard, be healthy, and keep collecting tickets to find your purpose and to become your best self. I will see everyone in the next episode, and thank you so much for tuning in.